Welcome to the golf edition of Hooked on Sport. This is South Australia's summer golf wrap, where we uncover the stories, personalities and moments that define golf across South Australia and beyond. It's time to talk golf with sports commentator Ben Hook and state golf representative Sophie Hilditch.
Good on you, Wallace. Thank you. It is Pennant preview time. We are going to focus in on everything that is going on around golf South Australia. Pennant, the Sanderson Cup is off to Glenelg. The Simpson Cup is off to Thaxted Park. We are here to make sense of it all and how it is all going to fall in the wash-up as we head towards semi-final week. I'm joined by Sophie Hilditch and all of her expertise and insight. Soph, what a massive weekend this is shaping up to be. There is so many combinations, so many permutations, so many people are going to be very, very happy at the end of Sunday, and some are going to be very, very upset.
Yeah, it's a big weekend for Pennant golf in South Australia with finals next weekend. I'm looking forward to it, but I tend to agree with you, Ben. I think clubs are going to be upset and some clubs are going to be absolutely pumped, excited and ready for semi-finals.
Let's start with a bit of a half volley outside off stump, if you like. Maybe, a 2-foot putt straight up the hill for birdie. Blackwood taking on the Grange. Blackwood season is over. The Grange are confirmed as the minor premiers. They're going to go straight through to the grand final. Hard to think about anything other than this is going to be another fairly significant victory for the Grange, and Blackwood probably going to be finishing winless at the end of the 2026 Sanderson Cup season, Soph.
Yeah, it's a tough one, Ben. I feel for a little bit for the Blackwood team because their team was definitely stronger than what it has been in the past. And I don't think any of the girls would say that they've played their best golf this season, and it has been a little bit disheartening. So, look, the only thing I will say is Blackwood hopes of finals are clearly gone. So I hope they can have a strong finish. And that's the one thing that I will say. There's no expectations on them anymore. They can play freely. They get to play Glenelg and it's redeveloped state. They can have some fun. So my hope for Blackwood is they can finish a little bit strong. I know that last week there was some big losses. Unfortunately, it was at the hands of my team, but I felt like the Blackwood girls didn't actually play that bad. Like, for example, Ebony playing at number 1. Ebony, she played incredible golf. Some of the stuff that I was seeing was awesome, and I think she's one to watch out for in future years. She hasn't played Pennant in over 15 years, and she's been thrown into the Blackwood team and thrown into the number 1 position, and that is a daunting task, particularly when you're coming against Reagan Denton after her excellent performance at Augusta National. So I'm going to go straight there. My must-win for Blackwood this week is Ebony. I think Ebony is playing incredible golf. She's holding strong at number 1. She hasn't got a win on the board yet, but I do not think that is because she's playing bad golf. She is coming up against this state's best women and she's holding her own. So for me, it's Ebony. I think she needs to get it over the line against the undefeated Millie Winnie of the Grange Golf Club.
Big challenge. Who's your must win for the Grange?
It's Steph Keylock for me at number 2. Grange's top 3 on paper are exceptional. They're incredible. Steph Keylock is having a great season, but I think for Grange, they've locked in finals. They've locked in that number 1 spot. Well, likely locked in that number 1 spot if they can get the win against Blackwood this weekend. But think they need to show the rest of Sanderson Cup that our top 3 are absolutely incredible, and you're going to have to knock us off our throne by getting 1 win out of those top 3. And I think Steph Keylock is an absolute key player for Grange. She's playing exceptional golf at the moment, and she is my must-win for Grange. And with that being said, my tip for this game, unfortunately to Blackwood, I think it's Grange, and I think it is quite a significant win. I'm going 4-1.
Okay, I'm going 5-0 here, Soph. I think it's going to be, I'm really disappointed for them. I think I made this point in the review show. I am disappointed for the way it's sort of panned out for Blackwood. We had high hopes for them, but yeah, they're going to run into a Grange outfit that is pretty determined, I think, to make a bit of a mess of everyone in their centenary year. They are showing very, very little mercy on any of their opponents in both the Simpson and the Sanderson Cup, and that's how I'm seeing this one to play out yet again. We're going to now focus in on your match, Soph, which is the Royal Adelaide Sanderson Cup team who take on Kooyonga. What a cracking game this is going to be. Winner takes all, loser goes home. I do love the final three, I've got to say. You think about if it was a final four, this game would mean nothing at all. It would just be played just in the motions, if you like. I'm really interested with the way the leaderboard's played out. So Glenelg has 2 wins and 11 winning points, if you like. Royal Adelaide has 2 wins and 8 winning points. Kiwi has 1 win and 7 winning points. So I've done the maths here. I reckon, well, we know that Glenelg are through a tie and you'll join them in the preliminary final. I think if you lose 3-2 to Kooyonga, by my rudimentary maths, I think you're the likely team that still goes through because you've had a lot more individual, you haven't had so much had individual match wins, that will level up, but your results in all of your matches have been bigger wins than what Kooyonga have delivered. Now, I know that's sort of hard to believe that that's what it's going to come down to, but I suspect that's what it could come down to. So I think Kooyonga needs to win this 3.5, 1.5 to go past you. Have you gone to the depths of trying to plumb this out and work out where it all lands?
Look, we have to an extent, but in our mind, we have to beat Kooyonga, and that's the way to get ourselves to finals. I do agree with you, though, and your math, I think it's correct, and it's one thing that Royal said right at the start of the season when we were playing Glenelg is every single putt counts in Sanderson this year, and it means that every single win and every single loss in your individual matches per hole absolutely counts, and that's what Royal was trying to do. If it didn't quite look like you were going to get the win in your match, you still needed to keep fighting to make sure you were going down 16, 17, 18. And in most of our matches, that's what we've achieved. And if we've won fairly significantly and fairly large. So I'm glad to see that could actually pay off. But in our eyes, we want to beat Kooyonga. They're our rivals, and that's what we're aiming to do.
I think if Kooyonga win 3-2, then they need a couple of big, 7-5, 6-4 type results. And if they can't get those, then I think you might just still stay ahead of them. Key player, must win for Royal Adelaide. I'm going to lean on Reagan Denton here. She's got a really big challenge against Matilda Miles. Matilda won't be intimidated by Reagan Denton. She's one of the few in this competition who won't be. And if she can land a massive blow against Matilda Miles, I'm talking about Reagan Denton here, then I reckon Royal Adelaide only needs to pick up another 1.5 points amongst its other 4 players. So Reagan getting over the line against Matilda, I think, is really important. For Kooyonga, it's Hayley Hunt for me. She's had another really solid year. Laura Birchmore has been outstanding this year. I think that's probably the way it will match up between Birchmore and Hunt. If Birchmore wins, the Garage Band is getting a standing ovation and playing an encore, aren't they? Hunt can get them off note. So I just reckon Hunt is a really key player. If she can dethrone, if you like, Birchmore, who's become, the princess consort, the queen in waiting, if you like, she's been that good this year, then I reckon that goes a long way for Kooyonga. If Birchmore gets it done in that match, then I think it's almost impossible for Kooyonga to get past you. My tip, Soph? It's Royal Adelaide, 3-2. I think you will get it done. I think you'll get it done legitimately. You'll clear them. You'll go through with 3 wins and you'll take on Glenelg next week and Kooyonga, who I just fear, they've had a couple of kids who are probably just 1 year too soon. So Scarlett Parker, Tammy Twist, they're going to be stars. They'll be excellent players going forward, but I just reckon you've got a bit more depth than the Kooyonga side right now.
Interesting, Ben. I think it's going to be a close match as well, but I think the match is individually going to be close, but it's going to be a 4-1 victory for Royal Adelaide.
Well, gee, I tell you what, I'm going to try and work out the one person you think is going to lose. I thought you had such faith in your team. It was 5-0 every week. So good luck to you. It's going to be a fascinating watch. The 2 great rivals, Kooyonga and Royal Adelaide, doing battle. One gets a final spot. The other one goes home for season 2026. The Simpson Cup, there is so much going on as well. They're off to Thaxted Park. The opening match is Thaxted Park and the Grange. Soph, your first thoughts here?
Yeah, look, we kind of spoke about it in our preview last week. It's been a disappointing season for Thaxted. They're getting relegated for sure now, and that's a bit upsetting. But I'm hoping Thacky can finish strong against Grange and maybe get a few wins on that board and feel a bit more confident going into next season, where they will unfortunately be in A2s. They're playing the redeveloped course of Glenelg, and we know that short game is quite necessary around there. So that kind of favours Thaxted a bit, with a bit of their tricky greens and their ability to have to use slopes around their own home course. But look, my must win from Thacky is Matthew Hart. He had a close loss last week, 2-1. And he was only one of the few at Thacky that did have a close loss. So I think it would be good to see him knock some wins out of the sails of Grange and get a win against them. And my must win for Grange is Darren Baines, bottom of the order. I think he needs to get a win, because my feeling with Simpson is their top 1 and top 2 is often a bit of a coin flip, and they're always incredible players. Not that the bottom of the order aren't incredible players, but the bottom of the order is where you really win or lose matches in Simpson. It often comes down to that 4, 5, 6 spot, and Darren Baines sits right in that sweet spot. So for me, I think Darren Baines needs to get that win. Unfortunately, I think Thacky go down against Grange. They've really shown themselves to be the favourite within this season. But I think Thacky do get a few points on that board, and I'm going 5.5, 1.5.
Nice. Yeah, I had him 7-0 down here, but I reckon I'm going to go 6-1. So we don't know what the Thaxted Park team is going to look like. If Jake and Brett Eadie front up, and this is a home game, it might be easier for them to turn up. Then I reckon there's maybe a point or two in it. Grange, we've discussed it all year. So much depth, so much talent. But yeah, 6-1 for me. The Grange to defeat Thaxted Park. The Grange will finish top and Thaxted Park will finish bottom. And we wish Thaxted Park all the best in A2 for next year. Glenelg taking on Royal Adelaide, Soph, and I'd love to get your thoughts on this match, as much as we scheduled it out that I was the person looking after the first thoughts. Match of the year for me, this one. What do you think?
Yeah, big match. Big, huge match. It will be really a finals decider. It's a match where both teams have really struggled a little bit, and, you know, they've got some really clutch wins, but it's just always looked a bit, I don't know who's going to do it. Every single time I talk about Glenelg and Royal, it's a bit of a coin toss as to whether or not they'll get the win. So for me, big, massive game. Royal having to play the Bays at home is tough at the end of the season when finals are on the line, but I think the Royal boys are up to the task.
Yeah, I made the point last week that it was a little bit of fool's gold, the win over Thaxted Park, but I also recall that I said a month ago that their lower order really needed to start to stand up, and I put some pressure on Mick Phillips and Fletcher Ryan and Will Starkey to start to get some results on the board and take a bit of pressure off Nick Wake and Michael Munn and Cade Bryant. And Jackson Leonard was another one of those guys that I put in that category that needed to really start to stand up. Well, look, Mick Phillips wins 7-6 last week. Fletcher Ryan wins 4-2. Will Starkey wins 9-7. And we discussed that as well on the review show. But that's pretty dominant stuff. And if you layer that in with what Munn and what Wake and what Bryant has done and what we can expect to see from Leonard, particularly after the early great form that he showed in the Interstate Series, I'm really excited for where Glenelg is at and the fact that they can be not only just a genuine threat this week, but if they get past Royal Adelaide, they are going to be a genuine threat in finals as well. Can't wait to see the Royal Adelaide lineup. What do they do with Anthony Olsen, who was out last week? What do they do with Seth Timko, who made his debut and played superbly with a victory last week over Jackson Cowles? What do they do with Nathan Kent, who's been an experienced guy, who's a solid performer, but do they start to think about maybe giving another young guy an option when Billy White comes back in? Who makes way for Billy White, I think, will be a really interesting question, and who else makes way for Anthony Olsen if he returns as well? My must-win for Royal Adelaide, Soph, it's Will Arnold. He landed his first win last week. It was against Heath Richards, probably the biggest win of his career, and he's been a good player in this competition for a long time. I think he gets either Michael Munn or Nick Wake, and they are all class, those guys. So with that one, you almost certainly book your club in finals. And his own average year, because he has not had a good year by his standards, his average year becomes a very, very good year if he gets a win like that under that sort of pressure. For Glenelg, I really want to put some more pressure on Jackson Leonard. We know he's got a big week this week playing in the Junior Interstate Series. Pound for pound, he's got the biggest test in Pennant golf. He takes on Billy Cawthorn. I'm almost certain that they'll meet. And that is the one guy you need to knock over if you're going to find a way past Royal Adelaide. He is just such a banker, Billy. He did it again last week against Frank Vukic, came from nowhere to claim half a point. If Jackson Leonard gets it done, I think they've got enough all around the rest of the field to find 3 more points. But if Billy Cawthorn does it once again, I think he leads Royal Adelaide to the promised land of the semi-finals. So that's where I'm seeing it. Soph, what's your tip?
I'm going Royal over the Glenelg boys, but I reckon it's going to be very, very close. I'm going 4-3.
I've got it exactly the same. Royal Adelaide 4-3 for me. But if I'm wrong here, I will not be surprised at all because I think both sides are full of quality, in good form, and it's going to be a great watch. Tea Tree Gully takes on Mount Osmond. Soph, Tea Tree Gully currently in second. Mount Osmond second bottom. Talk about bottom. They got their bottom spanked last week by the Grange Mount Osmond. Probably unjust compared to what they've been able to achieve this year, but this is an opportunity for them to go out on a high. Tea Tree Gully, after a couple of middling weeks, would like to just get their season back on track before they head into a semi-final at the Vines.
Well, you're being a bit tough on Mount Osmond. TTG got spanked 7-0 against Grange the week before. I don't think we could just call that middling performances. It's the two teams that have been spanked by Grange back to back. So, look, I think it's an interesting matchup. TTG, like you said, are in finals, but they've been struggling down that home stretch. You've spoken about previously how they look a bit cool and you didn't think that that was going to impact them, but I think TTG really need to step up. They need to solidify themselves as final contenders and they need to stomp on the throats of Mount Osmond. But Mount Osmond, nothing to lose. They've proved that they belong in Simpson. They've got their 2 wins and they are dangerous because they're not in finals. They're not in relegation. This is a danger match and it's probably going to be looked at as let's make sure we get a win on the board and we can say, hey, we've had 3 wins in Simpson and we weren't that far off finals if you look at it like that. So for me, looking at the teams, a must win. There's been a fair bit of movement in the order of TTG, so it's kind of difficult to tell based on movement where I think the win should be coming from based on the order. But for me, it's going to be William Summerfield. He's had a relatively good season. He's had a lot of close games and a lot of close games go his way. I think they need a win from him. They think they need a bit of an anchor. The TTG really need the bottom of their order to step up, particularly when we look at who their top of the order is going to be facing in finals. They need to know that they can rely on some clutch wins down the bottom of the order where William Summerfield has been playing. But again, TTG keep changing their orders, but I'm going to stick with William Summerfield as my must win. For Mount Osmond, it's Kenneth Chan. He will likely be playing TTG royalty in Sadira, and Ken's bad loss against Blair Christie must have been a bit heartbreaking, particularly when he's been playing some pretty solid golf. So I think we need a bit of a bounce back. We need someone to knock off a crowd favourite at Tea Tree Gully. I think he's been a staple in the Mount Osmond team. I think they rely on him, and so I'm going Kenneth Chan. But for me, the tip of this game, I think it's going TTG, and I think it's going 5-2.
No, I've got it exactly the same as well. So 5-2 Tea Tree Gully. Some interesting matchups here, but yeah, Mount Osmond, they'll deserve a well-earned drink after this round, whatever they've done. Congratulations to them. They're confirmed for 2027. Tea Tree Gully off to finals, and yeah, I think they'll be a little bit too hot for Mount Osmond, in particular on a course like the Vines as well. We wrap it up with Kooyonga taking on the Vines. This, of course, is at Thaxted Park, so just down the road from the Vines Golf Club of Ranella. So if I think Cooey are going to be at full strength here, so that's Durnford, Malachy, the Crunch, Marshall, Frank Vukic, Lockie Oakes, Heath, Freddie Castle, who's back in form, and then either Cowles or Percy down the bottom. And it's hard for me to find 4 points for the Vines from there. They did really well to get the draw against Tea Tree Gully last week, but they haven't won a contest since March 8. So they've gone loss, draw. And it's hard to turn that around, I reckon, against Kooyonga of all clubs. I think the Vines will like Thaxted Park, but I just reckon this is a bit of a step too far. For Kooyonga, their key man, their must win, Heath Richards needs to get back in form in time for semi-finals. He's been down on form. I know he's been working on some swing changes. I know he's had a bit of a mild back complaint as well, but he needs, this is where he needs to turn it around, Heath, if Kooyonga are going all the way. And then for the Vines, I'm going to head back to Sam Earl. And we've probably talked about him way too much on this show, the king of South Australian pennant golf, but he takes on Joel Durnford. Joel's a little bit vulnerable. He would have been stung by getting blown away by Alex Pacifico at the Grange last week. Alex was 5 under. So Joel Durnford even par and got done 5 and 4, I think it was. So it was pretty impressive from Alex. And that can rock you. It's very, very difficult sometimes in those circumstances just to say, I actually played really well. I just got beaten by someone who was on an absolute heater. So I feel like Durnford just a tiny bit vulnerable. If they're going to get it done, the Vines, Sam Earl, their big guy, has got to stand up and get the job. You can't win without your king, Soph. So it's Sam Earl who is the man for me. My tip, I think Kooyonga pretty comfortably here. I'm expecting Kooyonga to confirm their spot in the finals, and I think they'll win this 5.5, 1.5. What's your tip?
That's exactly what I had as well. 5.5, 1.5. We're a bit on sync here, so very hilarious. But that's my tip too.
I do want to see if the Chancellor, Tony Nobbs, makes his way back into the team. He's had that crook shoulder. Don't know if he's going to be fit and available, but gee, they look a different team if they are. If he's in, I reckon there's another 0.5 to 1 point for the Vines in and amongst it, but I still expect Kooyonga to get the job done.
Yeah, absolutely, Ben. It's going to be an interesting week of Pennant, and I'm looking forward to it.
Going to be smiles and tears at the end of it all, Soph. And quite frankly, I'm very, very impartial here, but at the same time, I hope it's a smile on your face at the end of it. I don't know that I want to be dealing with you in a bad mood and possibly hungover next Monday when we're working through all of our reviews. Great to chat with you, mate. Have a great weekend. Good luck. Massive match, you guys, against Kooyonga. Winner into the Sanderson Cup preliminary final. We'll break it all down next Monday.
Sounds great, Hookie. Can't wait.
With the last putt sunk, that's a wrap on this golf edition of Hooked on Sport. Thanks for listening. Help us meet more golfers just like you by following us and leaving a review. We look forward to your company on the next golf edition of Hooked on Sport.